let's come back to your matter. Presidential jet. The majority leader challenged you to show it. Eventually, you were able to show it. But what is the truth about it? What's the reality?
Well, thank you very much, Paul. I mean, first of all, I think there were three matters which were on the floor of Parliament yesterday. The first one was the scope of this programmed procurement. And then the second one was the amount of money involved. And of course, the third one was whether or not this should be the priority of the government of Ghana. And the first matter, which has to do with the scope of the procurement, if you look at page 136 of the page 136, paragraph 1091 to 1092, the budget statement spells out clearly what the government intends to do. And if you allow me, I'll quote it. I mean, the Minister of Finance says, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Air Force will be retooled. Beginning 2026, the government of Ghana will begin the procurement processes for the acquisition of 4 modern helicopters, 1 long-range and 1 medium-range aircraft. These are the presidential jets. 1 long-range presidential jet, in other words, a presidential jet which can travel, say, from Accra to Washington without being refueled, and 1 medium-range presidential jet. And then it goes on and on.
So the one we have now, is it medium?
Medium.
Okay.
And then it goes on and on.
So was this the first time we are acquiring a long range?
This is the first time.
Okay.
So that matter was settled because that is copiously set out in the statement the Minister for Finance delivered to the House. Then the second issue was the quantum, how much was to be spent. And I mean, this is where I had done the calculation because I looked at the budget statement in detail and I had done the calculation, and it had come to 1.2 billion United States dollars. If you convert it to Ghana cedis, it was a little above 13 billion Ghana cedis. 13 billion Ghana cedis. Of course, the respected Honorable Majority Leader, the Honorable Mahama Yarga, MP for Boko Central, in his usual very exciting and classic way of debating, raised issues about my mathematical skills and my understanding of mathematics. And as he joked about it, he went to primary school in Boko, and that his mathematics in Boko tells him that I was wrong. And of course, I said to him that I went to primary school, in Fufuso Primary School in Savannah region. He had the opportunity to go to Harvard. I went to KUST. But I told him that I think I'm on terra firma, I'm on firm grounds, because I've crossed my T's, I've dotted my I's. And I'm certain that the amount of money the government of Ghana is programmed to buy these aircraft, when you put it together, is 1.2 billion United States dollars. So we went through it with the Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Anodompre, joining a debate. And eventually, the majority leader conceded that the amount of money the government of Ghana is programmed to purchase these aircraft stands at 1.2 billion United States dollars, some 13 plus billion Ghana cedis. Now, of course, I think what he got a bit mixed up was the fact that this is a 4-year planned expenditure, which is that they are going to spend 2026 2.6 billion, 2027 3.5 billion, 2028 3.3 billion, 2029 3.5 billion. And if you put it all together, it comes to 13.1 billion Ghana cedis, 1.2 billion United States dollars. So that was conclusively and explicitly settled on the floor.
But that's over 4 years, as you say.
Yes.
But does the budget, if you approve this budget, if Parliament approves this budget, are they approving expenditure for years ahead? Well, is it not an appropriation act limited to 2026 financial year?
It is indeed, but it's a commitment the government is making. And if it's a commitment the government is making, and in the course of 2026, if they go through the procurement processes, and the procurement processes were to bind the government of Ghana, and if it was to be brought to Parliament, and Parliament approved of it, because government is in a continuum, successive government will inherit that obligation. And therefore, each of these years, whichever government will be in office, it will be like servicing the national debt of the country. The government will be under obligation to service this commitment which the government of Ghana is making.
But somebody told me to ask you that MPP were doing the same thing. MPP were trying to buy a presidential jet. Is that not correct?
Well, that's a third issue. That's a third issue, which is why I said on the floor of Parliament, there were three fundamental issues. The first issue was the scope. The second issue was a contention about the amount of money involved. Then the third issue was whether or not the timing was right, whether or not the scope of the procurement is welcomed, whether or not the amount of money programmed is value for money. And so, for example, somebody asked the question, why buy two presidential jets at the same time? Yeah. You have a medium-range presidential jet today, which is fit for purpose, the Falcon. Why not buy one long-range presidential jet in addition to what we already have? Why buy two? Then there's the other question. Of course, the retooling of the Ghana Air Force, nobody can quarrel with that. The purchases of helicopters and the rest are almost welcome, and I think that we should encourage it. And then, of course, the question somebody asks again is, if you are spending $1.2 billion, for example, the IMF program we are under today, which is been in existence for at least about 2 years now, which is going to expire May 2026. The amount of money which the government of Ghana is gone in for to borrow is $3 billion United States dollars. So if you go to IMF and you go and ask for $3 billion United States dollars, then somebody will ask the question, will you spend $1.2 billion United States dollars on these kinds of expenditure? I mean, these are questions, legitimate questions that I believe that people are asking. And of course, there are also questions about the contemporary challenges of our time. I mean, teacher arrears are not paid, nurses arrears are not being paid, farmers have harvested, maize is not being bought, rice, we are told that 1 million metric tons of rice is going waste at the value of 5 billion Ghana cedis. So they are, look, let's be clear, Paul, that we should provide the needed logistics for the president of our country, whichever president, whether it's President Mahama or whichever president tomorrow, to be able to discharge their constitutional duty and be able to do their work in the interest of our country. I believe that that is something that all of us should support, that the president should be tooled, reasonably tooled, to be able to conduct his duties effectively. But in so saying, or that said, the other fundamental and legitimate question is also, should we spend this amount of money, 1.2 billion United States dollars, and should we be buying two presidential jets at the same time? So this is what happened on the floor of Parliament yesterday. Yeah,
what about the question about the MPP's ambition to do the same thing in 2024 or 23 or something like that? Well, that's which the supporters of Gov't Ablakwa said he successfully fought it away.
Well, I've seen the budgets of the party, of the Akufo-Addo administration. I don't know of any occasion or time when such an intention was expressed or such an indication was given. I know, of course, my good friend, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is on record to have vowed that if any government attempted to purchase a presidential jet, he will resign from that government, he will stage a one-man demonstration. Those things have happened in the past. But I'm not here to, you said this, I'm saying that. I think that government can take a second look at this. Yes, it is important that we provide the necessary logistics for the president to function. There's no two ways about that. And a president in a modern world is a global leader. He needs to travel across the world. So the president requires reasonable facilities to be able to discharge his duties. But as I say, must it be 1.2 billion United States dollars? Must it be 13 billion Ghana cedis today, in today's Ghana? Must we buy two presidential jets at the same time, at a go? Well, these are questions that I believe your viewers and Ghanaians in general, we all have to interrogate. And at the risk of sounding populist, and I don't want to sound populist, we have some concrete issues to deal with in our country today. I mean, you have issues of health care, lack of beds in hospitals. You have nurses who are not being recruited, teachers who are not being recruited, arrears are not being paid. The treasury of our country is not fit for purpose to be able to discharge the responsibilities of government by providing goods and services to the people and so on. And then the budget itself, the total amount of money the budget anticipates to spend for 2026, a whooping 2.682 billion 2.68 billion Ghana cedis for 2026 alone is programmed for this singular procurement effort the government is going to be involved in. So these are legitimate questions that I believe that Ghanaians are asking.
That's interesting. Well, Mahama Yarida said at the end of the debate that government can find the money. Did you hear that? What do he mean by that?
Well, but it's always a question of prioritization. I mean, government can always find money to do all sorts of things. But the question that I believe the majority leader should answer and government should answer is that the best way of spending our money? I mean, that government can find the money. Of course, government can find the money. But in any event, in all humility and modesty, and with the greatest of respect to the majority leader, those monies are not the majority leader's money. It's not the president's money. These are taxpayers' money. These are taxes that Ghanaians pay, all of us pay. So should we use this amount of money out of the public exchequer, the taxpayers' money, to fund this kind of procurement, to engage in this kind of expenditure? That, I believe, remains a fundamental question for the government to answer.
So you think, in the context of the minority, that they should drop one plane and drop one helicopter? What if they ask you to advise them? What should they do?
No, I'm not getting into specifics, but I just think that the minority thinks that the amount of money involved in our current circumstances is colossal. It's huge, and the mechanism of prioritization is one that has to be looked at again, whilst conceding and doing so forcefully that, in principle, we have no difficulty in supporting any effort to equip the government generally and the president in particular. And by the president, I mean any president, to discharge his or her duties as president of our country. But we have difficulties we have major difficulty with the amount of money involved and the scope of the procurement. So government should take a second look at that.
What do you mean by scope of the procurement?
2 presidential jets at a go, 4 helicopters. I'm not too sure that is so much of a problem. But 2 presidential jets at a go, government should take a second look at it. Spending 13 billion Ghana cedis within 4 years on jets, government should look at it again. Spending 2.6 billion Ghana cedis just next year. In the course of next year, government is spending 2.6 billion Ghana cedis on the procurement of jets. Government should look at it again.
Let's talk that President Mahama will not have the benefits of these planes if his announcement that he's not running for a third term is anything to go by. He's leaving in 2020. He will not have the benefits of these planes. So why is the minority concerned as if he's looking for comfort for himself? He's not.
Well, it's not a question of comfort. It's certainly not a question of comfort. It's a question of judgment and decision making. And whatever judgment or decision is made has far-reaching implications and consequences on the welfare of today's generation and tomorrow's generation. And so if, for example, the government today were to say that we will spend all the taxes or all the revenue of the government of Ghana on a particular item, which will not inure to the public interest today, tomorrow, and in the future, we should have issues with it. And that is exactly what the minority, that is exactly the position of the minority, that this line item and this intended expenditure is one that we believe in the current circumstances of our country should be looked at carefully. And anywhere in the world, Paul, even the richest nation in the of the world, the United States of America, I'm not sure America will go out there to buy 2 presidential jets for their president at a go.
No, they have one big Air Force One. Which
whatever it is, I'm saying, if the government of America intended that they will equip their president to be able to travel around the world, I'm not sure they will order 2 presidential jets for President Trump or any other American president at a go. So to make a decision or to make a judgment call to purchase 2 presidential jets at a go, that obviously is something that requires further examination.